if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex, is the teacher's job?
Bill Maher brought on Gavin Newsom onto his show Real Time with Bill Maher to absolutely grill him on multiple different topics, and Bill Maher made Gavin Newsom look like an absolute fool when he asked him a certain question about trans people in sports, and Gavin Newsom gave a completely hypocritical answer to what he used to give and what he used to say on the topic, and Bill Maher absolutely called him out here on live television on Real Time with Bill Maher. Let's get into this clip here where Bill Maher calls out Gavin Newsom for his lies right to his face. Let's check it out.
They've got to mature about this.
So what do you say to people who say, well, this sounds all very good, but Governor, you were the poster boy for a lot of this stuff. I see today the Trump administration they talked about, I don't know if this is true, but they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you?
Well, I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex, is the teacher's job to then report that? By the way, in this law, the teacher can still do that, but they can't be fired if that's it can't be fired if that's not what they do. And that's something I think is, I just think that was fair. And I don't think that's inappropriate.
I've seen a lot of people lately talking about this 80-20 issue. And I think you are on the other side of this now, the side with the 80. 80 being 80% of the people in this country. Again, this is the issue of should biologically born men be able to compete in women's sports.
That's tough.
And,
It's not really tough. And what Bill Maher is going to call Gavin Newsom out on in a second here is that he just completely 180'd from what he used to say. What Gavin Newsom just said is a pretty logical, reasonable response to what Bill Maher was saying. That's not what he used to say, though. He never used to be reasonable or logical on this certain topic. He used to be very much so, like Bill Maher's going to call him the poster boy for this type of stuff, for these types of movements. That's not the type of answer that he just gave. He didn't give a very poster boy type answer for this stuff. This is the type of stuff that makes me think that Gavin Newsom is most likely running for president. And the scary part is I think he's learning from the mistakes of people like Kamala Harris and taking the advice of what people like Bill Maher are giving him, Anna Kasparian are giving him, because he's going a lot more populist, right? He's going after a lot more popular viewpoints where he's saying things that are just popular with common sense people, where it's like, yeah, teachers shouldn't get fired for not reporting certain things. That's kind of ridiculous, but also they shouldn't be forced to report the thing. That's not what he used to say at all. He used to say that they could keep it an absolute secret. Like it's a weird thing. You guys know, I can't really say it, but the insinuation was weird relationships could be formed between the student and the teacher, where the teacher knew the student had a certain sexuality and they were hiding it from the parents on purpose, like, working together with the student. And that's just weird. And that definitely should not be happening. And as a parent, that could be, that's like a nightmare situation, right? That is like your worst nightmare type situation. But Bill Maher is about to call Gavin Newsom out on all these lies right here. Let's check it out.
I saw the polling here in California. They think you're a traitor for saying this.
Yeah.
When those kind of people call you a traitor, there's a word for that, electable. If the Democrats, and 80% of the people are with you on this now. If the Democrats can't get with 80 how are they going to do something when it's a 51-49?
No, I get it. And that's, look, and the other side weaponizes these issues. They dehumanize, they attack, they demean, and they've weaponized this issue extraordinarily well. That said, on the fundamental question, is it fair? And I can give you example after example. Just in my home state, there was someone that won a triple jump by 8 feet.
Right.
All right. It's just, but it's, serious. And we had two people in the state champion. This broke my heart 2 years ago. I'll never forget it. 18 months ago, we had two extraordinary athletes that got into the state finals, trans athletes. Got in the state finals. The backlash was so bad, they didn't even compete. And the other two people that were kicked out weren't able to compete. It was fundamentally unfair. We haven't been able to figure that out. So I express that as a fierce champion of LGBTQ rights,
yes,
and have with a record that I don't have put up with anyone.
You have the cred.
That should be happening, right? If there's men who are taking the spots of women in certain sports and winning championships and winning long jumps by 8 feet or triple jumps by 8 feet, whatever, that should be shamed. They should be shamed into dropping out because that's not fair. That's not what the sport is created for. I don't know why Gavin Newsom is saying that to Bill Maher as if it's like a super negative thing. That's actually a great positive thing. And if he really wants to win the presidential election, he should view that as a positive thing. Let's get into the other clip, though, where Bill Maher really goes after Gavin Newsom and all of his hypocrisy here live on Real Time with Bill Maher.
Okay, so John Fetterman was in the news today. He said, if you're talking about the Democratic Party, he said, if we don't get our shit together, we're going to be a permanent minority.
I agree.
And I see you're doing something about it. I applaud it. I think it's great. You've got this podcast. You're talking to people. It's amazing to me that even that is controversial to some people. They call it platforming. If you talk to someone you don't agree with.
Yeah.
I feel like this country is divided into owners and healers. People who think you can own the other side. Yeah, well, Gavin Newsom owned DeSantis. Yeah. DeSantis destroyed Gavin Newsom. Yeah. Or people who want to talk and heal. And I feel like the next president's going to be, at least if it comes from this party, the Democratic Party, someone who wants to talk and heal. And I feel like you're doing that.
I'm going to be honest, that's never going to happen. What I think people need to start doing and start having the mindset of is instead of voting for people, just vote for ideas. Because it's very obvious to me that all of these people's ideas are just completely fluid and can change at any point in time based on what's going to benefit them the most. Because what you see right now, this Gavin Newsom that you see right now on Real Time with Bill Maher is a completely different person than he was 6 months ago, and definitely a completely different person than what he was 4 years ago. And it's all because he sees the direction that the tide is going. He sees the tide is turning. He sees, the momentum shifting, and he's just playing along with it. He understands what he needs to do to win the next election. And what he needs to do is go against the mainstream Democrat talking points that got them absolutely annihilated in the last election. So now he's going more for a populist angle, and he's probably going to win the primaries, and he's probably going to win the election, to be honest, if he continues down this path, which is scary for us. But the problem that people have is they vote for people, right? They vote for Donald Trump, and they don't vote for the ideas that Donald Trump has. That's just one example, right? I'm not saying that everybody who voted for Donald Trump doesn't vote for the ideas that Donald Trump has. I'm just saying it's very obvious that these politicians don't have any virtues. They don't have any morals or principles. They only just want to win elections. So just understand the fact that these people are all hypocrites. They're all liars. They're all just going to say and do whatever it takes to get elected, and just vote for the people who are saying the things in the very moment of the election that you want to have happen. So if Gavin Newsom ends up becoming a Republican out of nowhere and starts saying everything that we want to hear, including saying things better than Donald Trump has ever said, DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, all these people, I know that I'm going to take so much flack for this, but and also this would never happen, right? I'm just saying this as an extreme example. It probably would be good to vote for him because it doesn't really matter. None of these people, like I said, have any virtues, have any morals, have any principles. So if he happens to be doing everything that we want a presidential candidate to do, what I'm saying is throw away the name, throw away the face, and just vote for the idea. Vote for the policy, vote for the principles, vote for the morals that he has at that very point in time, which they could switch before the next election. But if it got him elected, he's going to continue to push those narratives. He's going to continue to push those policies because all these people care about is getting elected. All they care about is power. And that's being proven right in front of our face right now as Gavin Newsom's doing a complete 180 on all of his beliefs.
It's really been interesting, the reaction to the podcast. I mean, we had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it, bottom line. And by the way, or the notion that we just have to continue to talk to ourselves or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete 180 from what Gavin Newsom was saying a couple of years ago or 6 months ago. But this is the game that politicians play, man. And it's becoming more and more obvious to me that none of these people care at all about anything, that they don't have any actual morals or principles or any emotion behind what they're saying. They're just saying literally whatever it takes to get elected. And it's a sad realization, but that's the truth of the matter. And you know, it's benefiting us right now because all the Democrat candidates are becoming more and more right wing. So worst case scenario, if the Overton window is shifting so far right wing, worst case scenario, we get a pretty conservative Democrat candidate that wins the election. I mean, I think that's still a W because we shifted the Overton window so much. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole episode of Bill Maher and Gavin Newsom, where Bill Maher really did grill Gavin Newsom and call him out on multiple different things that he's completely 180'd on, you know, very much hypocritical on many different topics that he's discussed in the past. And now Gavin Newsom has completely shifted. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Bill Maher versus Gavin Newsom situation.